Today's episode is brought to you by Late Night Beard Saving Placement Match.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, The Blevins. With me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. How are you?
I am doing something. I'm doing better.
Wide awake, up and at 'em?
Super wide awake and definitely up and at 'em, but definitely not those things, but definitely still, as you can see, with a nice, long, luscious beard.
Some people can see. I don't get to see such things.
You could if you tuned in to twitch.tv/theblevins at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays. Did we just do that by accident and pull it off flawlessly? Well,
Yes,
we did until I brought it up.
It was definitely an accident, that's for sure.
And it was definitely flawless until I brought up the fact that we did it flawlessly. But we've got quite a healthy size show today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And stay tuned to the end of the episode because we've got an awesome interview with Dogman from Kungarna.
Yes, and big thank you and an announcement, too, to put it just at the top of the episode.
Let's just do it.
We've decided to go ahead and just make superfan and patron and buddy of ours at this point, A. Smith, into the official guest booker. He's constantly tweeting at people anyways, even without our permission or request. So the permission is automatically granted. Yes, yeah. we had no problem with it ever, to be clear. But he's posting at people and tweeting at them to say, hey, you should go on the High Noon podcast. And so he decided to just make it official, let him just book the guests. Once they say yes, he can now speak with authority and schedule things and stuff, which is awesome. So yeah, big thank you to A. Smith. Obviously, since we don't get paid, he doesn't get paid. So he is just doing it out of the kindness of his heart and love for the show. So we really appreciate that and definitely look forward to an increase. I mean, he was successful in getting this Dogman interview in like 25 seconds. We're like, hey, man, at this point, let's just make you the official guest booker. And he's like, I'd totally do that. Like, I was half serious when I said it. He's like, I'd totally do that. I'm like, done, do it. And he's like, 20 minutes later, he's like, so I got Dogman. You guys want to talk to Dogman? Of course we do. So big thank you to A. Smith. Really appreciate it. All the hard work you've already done, all the hard work you will continue to do. Much appreciated.
Yes, so it goes to show you we now have 2 super fans turned into huge parts of the show. So you never know. Just start doing a lot of unpaid labor for us, and maybe we'll make you into a part of the show at some point. But no, on a serious note, huge shout outs to A. Smith. And, also, I don't need to give extra shout outs to Overwatch today, but we will anyway because we're going to talk about what we did last week. Death, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so thanks for the segue there. I did a podcaster panel on Saturday morning at like ungodly hours in the morning. It was the worst case scenario. I pulled up Levins basically and didn't sleep that day. Yeah. I came knowing I had to get up really early on Saturday, wanting to get a good amount of sleep this weekend. I came home on Friday, decided to take a nap, open my eyes at 2 a.m. and just go, what did I do? So yeah, that was awkward and hard to get through, but I got through it nonetheless. And yeah, it was a really good time. There were people I'm going to forget some people, so I might as well just head over to the Discord so that is less likely to happen. But there was podcasters. Yes, Not Rob was there from Omnic Lab. We also had Joran and Wicked from the Overplayed. We had Mel and oh my goodness, where is he? That's two lists. Tank Zord from the Cavalry podcast. Tank Zord he's in there twice. That's confusing. Also, Slambo wasn't there from the Cavalry show, but I did talk to him a little bit over the weekend as well. We had
Blazing Bob.
Yeah, Blazing Bob was there from Watchpoint Radio. There was a kind of phone-in segment from Totally Drunk. which is great to obviously he's a big podcaster, a big member of the community. Everybody knows who Totemly is at this point. If you listen to any podcast, he's almost always around. So it was a whole lot of fun. We talked for a couple of hours. Everybody kind of brought a topic for the panel to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
We went through them all. It was a really good time, and I even got to hang out and break out the Torbzo account for a bunch of the podcasters and some games after the fact. So that was a lot of fun as well. I'm pretty sure we went undefeated in comp.
Nice.
With the Deathblow Hanzo carry. So that was a whole lot of fun. So
Yeah.
big thanks to everyone.
Yeah, huge thanks. And I'm sure that the link for that is going to get posted soon, if it hasn't already. So we'll definitely retweet that. And if I get it before the show airs, then I will put it in the show notes as well. So keep an eye out for that. We won't spoil what we talked about for our topic that we picked, but what I will say is that it is a recurring theme that we both feel very passionately about, and I think we made a pretty good argument for it.
Yeah, it won't be the first time that you've heard us talk about that, but I think it will be interesting to hear how much other people agree with us.
Yeah, how much other people think that we're the best ever, and that's what it was. It was, which podcast is better, High Noon Podcast,
or all your shows?
That was the end of the question. That was the end of the question.
All your shows combined, and everybody. So no, in all seriousness, though, it was a really good time, and it was just honestly good. Like, I haven't had conversations that all the voices, right? Because you don't do an Overwatch podcast without listening to Overwatch podcasts. And while I don't have enough time to listen to every episode of all of them, I've heard all of them, and so it's really nice to actually have a conversation and a little back and forth with some of the voices that we've heard in our times listening to the shows.
Yeah, and it was another one of those things where, like, right off the bat I walk in and I just start getting grilled and I'm like, I don't know these people. This is awesome.
Right, they knew us, though. That was for sure.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they listen to us more than we listen to them, but I'm going to make a point to fix that and prioritize casual Overwatch podcast listening a little more than I have been. I try to get in for 1 and 3 episodes, and depending on the show too. My interests, like the lore-based ones, I'm a little less interested in than I would be the other ones. But it's perfect because there's plenty of people out there that don't care at all about esports. So, so that knife cuts both ways.
Right.
But yeah, other than the podcaster panel, kind of wrapped up my Overwatch vacation, and now it's time to get back to it. We're actually got to replace somebody else. We had our off-tank flex player had to step away for family reasons. He's got 2 kids and basically walked in from work and sat down and played Overwatch until I let him stop. And it just got a little tough. If there was a little break there, it would have been better for him, I think. Yeah. But unfortunately, work gets afterthought, by the way. He's a patron of the show. So nobody that'll completely disappear on us. But nonetheless, it's unfortunate. So we're going to be looking for a new replacement there. If anybody is in Masters or very, very close, we will put you in Masters. We have no problem doing that. We did it for all of us individually. So, let us know and we'll make sure you get a tryout. I think we tried out 2 or 3 podcast fans for the Lucio spot. So, I can only guarantee you guys a spot, not any preferential treatment, because I don't make the decisions. I just organize the tryouts. So reach out to me on Discord and we'll bring you in for a couple games.
Yeah. And speaking of couple games and getting carried to Master, I actually played my placement matches.
Yeah, no babyface Blevins, unfortunately.
Nope. Although it wouldn't have been babyface, it would have been creepy mustache Blevins, which Death and I talked about it off the show. That wasn't acceptable. That was acceptable as long as the beard got.
We said you had to shave your beard,
And that's where the conversation came: either do your placement games or go to jail.
That's true. Those were your 2 options. You go to jail for looking like a pedophile, or just play 10 games of Overwatch.
Yeah, which got extremely hard because I was like, oh, I can just play these at any time. And then I moved, and it's like, okay, well, if I'm moving, I don't have a computer set up, and my internet's not set up. And then I wasn't in charge of setting up the internet in my new house, and that happened. And then last night, I get home at 11:30. And I'm like, oh, I just need, I already had played a couple placement matches from before. I just need to play some. I'll just do it. I'll stay up till, maybe, 2 o'clock or something. Well, I don't even get my I don't even get my router set up until about 1:30 because for some reason I just could. Well, I had to unpack my entire computer and I have a huge blah 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 blah. Get the router. It's all set up. The internet is hooked up to the house, and I like the Wi-Fi is not working. I can see the network. It's not working. I'm like, what is going on here? Type in the password. I type it in again. Type it again. It's not working. It's saying it's connected, but the internet's not there. I'm like, what is going on? So I try the second one. It's like still not working. So I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I have a 50-foot Ethernet cord. I'm running it across my apartment. Plug it in, same thing. It's recognizing the network, but there's no internet. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to like go shave my beard. This is gonna be awful. And then I realize I'm looking at the router. The cable, the coaxial cable was just not plugged into it. It was just powered on. It it was just a box with lights sending out a signal that did nothing.
As an IT guy, I'm going to request you shame bail yourself for not knowing how to plug in internet.
Hey, I didn't set it up. I just, I'll give myself a shame bail. Whatever.
Shame.
I deserve it for not noticing that instantly. I'll give you that. But long story short, I did in fact play them. I got placed at 2,300, so like not that much lower than what I usually am, which is around 25. I think that's what I was before. I ended up going pretty bad. Oh wait, no, hold on. Am I thinking what is gold is 2,500, right? Or is that silver? Am I in silver? Oh God, did I get placed in silver?
Let's see, 3,500 is Masters, so 3K is Diamond, Plat is 25, so you're in.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm a little bit lower than what I normally would be, which I'm actually surprised I'm not lower than that because I played pretty bad. I was playing Diva and I just was not jiving, and then I played Zarya and did pretty well. And then my internet got disconnected in my last game and I got banned for 10 minutes, but that's neither here nor there.
Still counts.
Still counts. I have a rating. It's good stuff. Besides that, I mentioned a couple weeks ago I started playing Star Wars Destiny. It's a dice game. If anyone plays it, you can either tweet at me or hit me up. Yeah, no one does. The 11 people that played at the tournament are the only people that play. But I played a tournament and I won. That was fun. I went to a musical. I found $40 on the ground. I hatched some Pokemon in Pokemon Go. It was a pretty eventful weekend, I've got to say. But enough about me.
Before we move completely off of you, I just want to say, I'm not done piling on you yet. Never forget. I think part of your problem with the placement anxiety that you have is you're under the impression something can go wrong when you place. You cannot drastically impact your SR through placement games. So play them earlier. Don't make your beard so at risk, and I think things will go better for you. And also just get in the habit of playing again. Not even a lot.
I know.
But just get in the habit of like a game a day or something. Like takes 21 days to make a habit. So if you force yourself, put a reminder on your phone, even if you only want to play like 2 days a week, right? Tuesday, Thursday, it's just going to take you, 21 times playing, right? To force a habit. So just set some alarms, get it going. For an Overwatch podcaster, and even on the panel, we made fun of you quite a bit for not actually playing Overwatch. But yeah, nonetheless, get on it, man. Stop slacking.
We just need to set up a day where I can bring your team down and just play with the comp team.
Yeah, I mean, we have practice, so, we usually got 6 people there, so I don't know that'll work. We don't really play as a 6 or even large groups outside of it. But nonetheless, I have 3 accounts. So you say the word no matter where you're at, no matter what your placements are at. I've got an account that can play with you. So
there we go. So I'm not making any bets now that my beard can't. I'm not making any bets my beard can't pay. But
season 6 placement matches by next episode have to be finished, or the beard is gone.
Season 6 even started?
Nope. No, it's going to be really, really difficult. You're going to have to call in a favor to Papa Jeff to pull this one off.
I'm going to have to get your hard copy of the game that has Doomfist on King's Row.
Right.
And it randomly season 6 placement matches.
Yeah. They're going to have to stand you up an isolated server with 10 people so you can play. 12 people.
Yeah, it's going to be great. This is going to be 12 Blizzard employees just completely destroying me. Oh, there's the staying up till 4:30 that we all talked about. But let's move right along to favorite segment of the show.
Overwatch Today Meme of the Week.
That is, of course, the Overwatch Today Meme of the Week, and this one was a point of contention in the Overwatch Today community and the Instagram community because
First of all, I looked at the memes before you picked one, and I knew it was going to be this one. So I looked at it, and I'm looking at it, and I see the comments, and the comments were hilarious, given that you're choosing it. But why don't you go ahead and explain it, and then I'll tell you.
So it's the new Sombra skin for the Summer Games. It's like, green and purple and black and yellow. And as you may have guessed, it zooms in on her shoe, which looks like Genji, and it says, "I need healing." It zooms in on another part, it says, "I require healing." And it zooms in on a third part and says, "Mata Mata." So just pile, like, not even just the "I need healing" meme, it's just piling on the Genji meme.
Like, the meme is very aware that it is a dead meme, but nonetheless, it has to exist. So it just went super hard on it. Yeah, and speaking of going super hard on that particular meme, I'm trying to find the actual post again
one.
here. Yeah, here it is. So the first comment I saw, this meme is overused AF. These aren't funny, comment number 2. That feeling when Overwatch memes are cringy and forced. Ugh, not funny. Can that meme die, please? I mean, it is just literally that stuff. Like, but they might as well have said, "We don't care if Blevins likes this meme. Kill it, please." Like, it's dead now.
I like to think that I'm a driving force behind the "I need healing" meme surviving.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely won't die because Overwatch Today makes 99% of the memes in the Overwatch space, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah.
And he likes you enough to keep making them for you. So.
I mean, I'm just going to be disappointed if we don't keep seeing them, because then I'm going to have to start making them, and that won't be good.
I'm mad we only got one "I need shielding" from Reinhardt. Like, we only got one of that, because that was, I thought, I don't know, it was just a good... That's how it would have, like, lasted longer and kept going, as if it would have just pivoted a little bit. And
Nope. Sometimes you just got to drive home the original point of there is no point whatsoever.
Oh, absolutely.
Or the point is that I need healing.
I actually have a theory that Overwatch Today doesn't like that meme, so he keeps doing it just to make sure that when he stops, not a single one gets created ever again.
Right, it's just completely overdone. There's no one's gonna have even a little bit of an inkling to do it.
Genji's in game don't even want healers anywhere near them. Like, they're rejecting Zenyatta orbs. By the
Stop
time
healing me. They're deflecting a Zenyatta orb. So good and so bad. I love it. But yeah, so that is that. And for what it's worth, Overwatch Today did make me his own meme, or he tagged me in another meme that he made, but I had to go with the original. We'll see. We'll see about next week. But a lot of tangents so far already, so let's move along. We do have an interview.
Huge episode, and we're goofing off.
Yeah, I'm goofing off.
Classic us.
Yep. So let's move right along to the...
It's tournament talk.
I've never once introduced this segment correctly. The transition, at least. It's tournament talk, and we finally got to see some USA play in the Overwatch World Cup. Death, you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so this was another one of those weeks, and my prediction at the top of the tournament turned out to be correct, that there would be one and exactly one group that was full of super... I mean, not that this wasn't compelling and fun to watch. It was actually a really good weekend of Overwatch, but just the surprises weren't there, right? Like, the teams you thought would probably escape the group brackets did, and, going forward, I think the one that might have been up for grabs was who would get second in Group G. Was it going to be Taiwan or was it going to be Brazil? I don't think too many people favored the New Zealand team, but it did turn out to be Taiwan. So in Group G, we had USA at 3-0-0, and they had an 11-1 map score, only dropping one map to Taiwan the entire time. So that was really great to see. Obviously, as big USA fans like we are, Taiwan came in second there at 2-1 with a 9-3 map score. And then Brazil was 1-2, and New Zealand 0-3. Going over to the other group, we had the UK going 12-0 in maps, 3-0, and yeah, crushing it, and including the playoff game that they played. They did not drop any maps either. This weekend was actually a little bit. They were calling it 4 Overwatch because like just every result was 4-0 for like the first day and a half. It was kind of crazy, but nonetheless, the quality of the matches was still pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams here, and these aren't supposed to be the really closely contended matches, right? Like these are the qualifiers. The group stages, somebody has to finish poorly, right? Like it's just going to be that way. You see it like 9 times out of 10. You don't see like a log jam up at the top with a bunch of draws and weird stuff like that. It was a really good tournament though, in the overall, even though it wasn't super surprising. But yeah, UK at 3-0, and then Germany 2-1, 7-6 map score. Israel and Belgium. One fun thing I did see this weekend is they talked a little bit to the U.S. committee going into the tournament matchup, or the playoff matchup, I should say, and they were saying how they thought Germany would actually be their easiest matchup of the day going into the thing. They just thought the support play seemed a little weaker. Was Kai specifically called out the supports. I said they seem really vulnerable, and I mean, 4-0'd them, so I can't really complain or can't really fault him for calling it out. It definitely looked like he had a pretty good, accurate beat on it. Of course, it's Kai, a former pro, on a team and on a roster, so very good at analyzing game film and getting the most out of spectating. So it was I thought it really fun to get kind of that insight into what they were seeing in the middle of the tournament as it was going on. Also, another thing I want to point out is, I'm not 100% sure we outdid Australia in the crowd, but Aussies are a pretty ruckus bunch of people there, from my understanding. So, but I thought the U.S. crowd did really, really well. I mean, there was a lot of hype going on when the U.S. was playing. The one thing I thought maybe that we didn't do quite as well as Australia was giving a little hype and giving a little bit of that excitement to the non-U.S. teams. But hey. At the end of the day, as long as you're going ham for the U.S. of A., I'm not going to complain too much. So it was a lot of fun to watch and see kind of, the U.S. crowd. The committee, when they were there, they were in like, Kai was wearing just this hideous like leggings and wife beater combo, and everything was in like USA American flag patterns. It was really funny because Stir looked like really professional, like just in a suit with like an American flag tie on. And then he opens his suit and the lining is an American flag, and that was really funny. And there was no hiding it from Jeff Kaplan. Like his entire suit was just 100% American flag. Yeah, he was on our committee.
I thought you said Jeff Kaplan.
Oh, I meant Jason. If I didn't say Jason, yeah. So I thought they were really, really funny. And as always, I mean, we get the top tier broadcasting team for these events. We get all the good analyst desk people, and we've got Hex and ZP and Monty and Doa, alternating the matches. So who doesn't love either of those caster combos?
Yeah.
And obviously the desk talent is really good as well. I even like Malik doing the interviews quite a bit.
Yeah.
So shout outs to everybody on the broadcast team. Had a really good time and really enjoyed watching you guys. And now that really wraps up the World Cup here. So we're all set until November. So we're going to go dark on World Cup coverage for a little while, probably do a preview before BlizzCon happens. But real fast, just to give everybody an update and a reminder, we do have the 8 teams that are going to be going to where is it, Anaheim for the BlizzCon finals here. It's going to be China and Sweden. These are opponents too. I'm going to read them off and who they're playing in the first round. China and Sweden, and then we have France and Australia, and then I think I was wrong before about who was going to face South Korea, because that's going to be the US of A in the first round there. But nonetheless, you're not going to win it if you don't beat them anyways. So let's do it right now. I kind of like it. Come out early, come out fast, and take them out. We looked good this weekend. Yeah. Good. The teams we had to face, Taiwan was no slouch. They looked really, really strong in this tournament. Not sure they dropped any maps outside of to the U.S. I'm trying to see. They 4-0'd Brazil. They 4-0'd New Zealand. No, they did not. So other than that, they did really, really well. And let's see here. And then, they played against Germany. That's a really, well-constructed roster for the most part. There's guys that it still drives me nuts to see Internet Hulk playing Lucio when he was just such a good Winston player and such a good tank and really flexible player for Envy with his time on that roster. So it still feels a little weird for me to see him stuck there. But a lot of talent on Germany, and I believe they made it into the top 8 and qualified for the trip to BlizzCon last year. So great to see us do well against them and really shut them down. And yeah, I think we're poised to do really well going into this. It's unfortunate that South Korea is the first matchup, but nonetheless, like I said, you're going to have to beat them no matter what you do. There's only 8 teams left, so it was going to happen sooner rather than later. So let's get it over with and take them out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Although, I mean, you still want to see the U.S. play against South Korea in the finals. Like, that's what you really want to see. But now it can be U.S. versus Sweden, maybe? I don't know.
Sweden's on the other end of the bracket. Yeah, if it's going to be the UK, assuming the bracket I'm looking at is right, because it definitely said Canada versus South Korea last time. I'm just looking at it on Winston's Lab. I don't have any confirmation that this is official, but I do trust that if the information's out there, the Winston's Lab people do have it right. But yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because I'm guessing UK, they looked really, really strong to me this weekend, so I'm guessing they have a slight edge over Canada. But UK and Canada is the other matchup, so on our side of the bracket. So if we beat South Korea, we go into the winner of that one.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that if that's correct, that is probably the 4 best teams, or at least very close to it. Not to take anything away from obviously China, Sweden, France and Australia, who also qualified. I just personally looking at it, I think those 4 are probably my favorites to take it down. Now, maybe one of them's streaky. That's the thing. We don't really know yet. Like, they could be really inconsistent and just played well that day and come up and not do anything. But
all you need.
Right. That's the beauty and the flaw of a tournament like this. So it'll be exciting to see nonetheless. I do not expect South Korea to be inconsistent, though. I think they're going to be bringing a strong game right away. So we'll have to wait and see. The other thing, while we're previewing tournaments and things that are coming up, let's get this one out of the way as well. We did have an announcement for the Contenders tournament. The schedule has been released, and we also know what is going to be happening with the last 2 spots. So as we've mentioned in the past, we've had Team Liquid obviously drop their roster and jettison from Overwatch, and the same with Movistar Riders. Both teams were qualified. And as unfortunately was decided, the spots were owned by the organizations and not the rosters that actually played in them. And these spots were sold. They were not granted or moved or anything like that. They were sold. So we hate that, obviously, or at least I do. I won't speak for Blevins on that one, though I think he does as well.
It's pretty bad.
I'm not a big fan of it. But nonetheless, I did name 2 teams that I wanted to see take it, or no one, at least for the NA spot, because there were teams that weren't qualified because of reserved spots for teams that were participating elsewhere. And Envision Esports did take that one, which basically just tells me they outbid LG Evil for it, which makes me nuts, because I think LG Evil is the better team, and I think if they just played a best of 7 or a best of 5 tiebreaker to see who goes, I think LG Evil would have won that one. But nonetheless, at least it went to one of the 2 teams that should have been there. Unfortunately, they had to pay for it. And then Gamers Origin on the EU side, somebody that was pretty underwhelming in the they played really well in the qualifiers, and then in season 0, they seemed underwhelming once they qualified into the top 8. Things seemed to fall apart for them. So they may be another one of those streaky rosters. They're not one that we're super familiar with because of the lack of EU events lately. But we'll have to see. They're going to be in there as well, and so they'll be playing out, and that all starts this weekend. So we have no downtime. We're going World Cup straight into Contenders Season 1, August 19th and 20th. And then every single weekend after that through all of September, wrapping up on October 7th and 8th. It will move to a 3-day format after a little while. Keep an eye on that. I think it's around week 3 that starts in September. But for the first couple times, it'll be Saturday and Sunday for the first 2 weeks over the next 2 weekends. So that, for us, from our perspective, means plenty to talk about. There's not going to be any reason for us to be taking an episode off, especially with how fast all the OWL news is coming. So I know we've mentioned how there might be some more weeks off coming up, but it doesn't look like that will be the case. So you can find our content being released on its regular schedule every Wednesday.
Whoop, whoop. Especially if official booker A. Smith keeps getting us some sweet, juicy interviews.
Yeah.
And also, the next Apex season has at least the initial balls are rolling Uh, so
Yeah, like the qualifiers I think started. I don't think the actual official season
right,
has kicked off yet.
exactly. Yeah, the qualifier, the like 10,000 rounds of qualifiers have started.
Yes. Yes. And as it looks, I mean, obviously with them having teams now set up for OWL, we're going to ramp up our coverage of that a little bit, I think, here going forward, because we want you guys to be very familiar with the teams and the players. And I don't want anybody to feel like we left them high and dry on any of the Korean news or anything like that that's going on. So we will try to keep a little closer tabs on that scene until the league actually forms and we have the specific rosters that we need to worry about. And I think it's safe to say once the league forms, at least during the regular season, we're going to probably be dropping coverage of just about anything outside of the actual league itself. Then pick it up in the off season and to talk about stuff like that. And then probably honestly finally be able to get into that season structure we always kind of envisioned for the show.
A long time ago.
Yeah, but there won't be much downtime between season 1 and 2 of the league, I'm guessing, considering they seem to be rushing to get this one in by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And then the next one, they'll follow what will be their normal league calendar. So there's got to be that off season where they re-sign players, they acquire talent, especially with the 1 to or at most 2-year roster contract length that they can have at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. But keep an eye out, as I'm sure things will be changing for the show drastically once the league as the league gets closer and closer.
Yeah, and I'm imagining that the natural progression of Overwatch tournaments and Overwatch esports is going to be like a normal sports season, where like the minor leagues are playing at the same time as the major leagues, but you don't care what the Batavia Muck Dogs do and what their season is, unless you're like a diehard minor league baseball fan for some reason. But what you do care about are the prospects that are doing really well and that have a chance to get pulled up into the majors. So we might be casually watching the tournaments and paying attention to the tournaments for the sake of players getting moved around, but probably not as much for the, what did this random, 1K event, like who won that tournament, unless it's like an up and comer or something that could.
Unless it's
that could
Team
make
No
a play.
Spaghetti Allowed that wins it, then
Right.
we'll absolutely be talking about
We'll
it.
be talking about nothing else.
Yeah. Oh, I won't allow us. If I win a tournament, we will not. You can shut down the Overwatch League if I win a tournament. We're all pro now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that and keep an eye on all the smaller stuff for you. And if you have any questions or if you want to hear about that, let us know, because we can either talk to somebody else. We have a lot of people we know, fans of the show, stuff like that are content creators in their own right, and we can try to partner with somebody here and get them to cover one of the lesser league. I'm looking right at you, Thornrain. We can help you get something going where you're talking about the lesser leagues, and then it can kind of be in tandem a little bit with ours, so that way it can follow where we're doing the league, and then somebody else is watching contenders and somebody's watching open division. If anybody's interested in doing something like that, really interested in esports, wanted to start a podcast, anything like that, reach out to us and let us know. We'll do anything and everything we can to help you. And as always, we want to cover as much as possible and help cover as much as possible of the esports content, because that's what we love about the game, and we want to contribute to the community. So let us know, and we will do anything and everything we can to help bring coverage to all aspects of the game.
Yeah, I am thinking about a number of different things we could do that I think would be kind of cool with that. So yeah, definitely let us know if you are interested in doing some sort of coverage like that. Would be pretty awesome. But anything else in the tournament land for this week? I don't think there's too much.
No, should be pretty much all set.
Okay, sweet. So let's move right along to.
Oh, let's break it down!
Break it down. Got a lot of headlines here, and let's just jump right into it. So, former Selfless owner Brad Rajani is now the coach of NRG. Do we want to just run through these and then we'll kind of go back through them, or do you want to? You can.
Well, we can kind of we should probably give a little bit of something about it as we read through them, at least the major ones. We've always been a big fan of coaching signings.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Brad, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think all we really need to know is that, he used to run selfless, which means he
Right.
had a large hand in growing that roster and helping them improve and get them better. And they kind of, if I remember correctly, they came up quickly. They
Yeah.
they came on fast and strong. So it'll be really interesting to see what they can do for the NRG roster, which is in shambles at the moment. But obviously they're primarily focused. They don't have a contender spot, so they're primarily and 100% focused on the league. So
Yeah.
we will have to wait and see exactly what they do roster-wise going forward. But nonetheless, I do feel confident that this is a pretty strong signing, and it was one of the earlier signings as far as coaches go. I want to say it might have been the second one or maybe the third, coaches/GMs. So yeah, presumably they got exactly the person they wanted for it, and I look forward to seeing them form their roster and continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you really can't get too much of a better person than that, right? Considering they have the, I guess, managerial experience of uh, owning the organization, and then also obviously the player experience of knowing, who's good and whatnot. So
Right.
seems like an overall really great pick. It will be interesting to see, um, how the coaching dynamic plays out, because when you think of like a basketball, baseball, or football coach, like their role is very defined in what they're doing, and it's very rigid, and you know exactly what they do. But for Overwatch and esports even more broadly, what exactly does a coach do? Like, are there going to be rules about what coaches can and can't do during the league? Are coaches, like you mentioned, going to be more like a GM/coach, like doing, player recruiting and recruitment and whatnot, as well as the actual in-game coaching? Like, it'll be interesting to see what, if there are going to be regulations on that, and what's kind of expected. Would definitely love to like hear from an Overwatch League recruited coach. That'd be a really cool one to have on the show.
Hint, hint,
Um,
A. Smith.
yeah, I didn't
We get
want.
to do that now. We get to
Yeah,
do that
I
now.
didn't.
That's
I didn't want to lay it on too thick, but it would. I think it would be really cool because just to like kind of get an idea of what their requirements are, so that we can pander your esports resume and send it to people.
Yes, that would definitely be great. Yeah, and I mean, in all fairness to A. Smith, we're making this joke because we know he's already actively trying to
Yeah,
talk
he
to these
almost
guys.
certainly did.
We already know for a fact he's tried to make contact with almost all these coaches that have been announced so
Yeah.
far. But yeah, I definitely look forward to it. And one thing that you always look for, and I'm gonna, if you're not used to it by now, I'm going to continue for the rest of time, correlate OWL events with my expectations when similar events happen in the NFL. And one thing
Yeah.
you always expect to happen when you bring in a new head coach is he's going to bring in coaches and players that he has a relationship with
Yep.
and who know his system and his way of doing things so that they hit the ground running and have as much success as humanly possible.
Yep.
Selfless is no longer an organization, and that roster is currently sitting out there doing nothing. So did NRG sign this coach because they want to target those players? Because that would make a whole lot of sense to me.
Mhm.
Obviously, they're not going to be bringing in DeFran, but maybe they really want 3 or 4 of the players that were on that, even if it's just 2, they really want. And so they bring in this guy who knows how to work with them, and it's going to be a smoother process. They're going to hit the ground running a little bit faster than most teams if something like that happens. So keep an eye out for that. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I expect to see something similar to that happen, even if it's just 1 or 2 players. I think that we will see at least 1 or 2 of these former selfless roster members join the new NRG OWL team.
Yeah, and I mean, unless NRG is making some sort of publicity stunt out of like having celebrity players or like really high profile players, like why not just have the whole selfless team, honestly, and like have one DeFran replacement? Put Siegel on instead of DeFran or something like that.
Well, the answer to that is because you think you can do better. There's
Sure.
some advantage to bringing in some people, but you also do have to look long term here and
Yeah,
think
that's true.
about what is best for the organization overall. They have an option to pick up all their players for a second year, so you bring in some, you try some out, maybe you let the other ones go elsewhere and know you can target them down the line, but you just want to take a
Plus,
look
we have
at it.
12
So
spots.
Right, right.
So you can even pick up the whole team and then also have backups or have them as backups.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Maybe you're going to see him sign. Makes it more likely you see him sign a larger group than a smaller one of the team, I would think.
Yeah.
And then in a situation like that, man, that would be a lot of fun to watch it roll out as close to the initial 6 selfless, and then watch them one by one get replaced and get maybe not replaced, but just subbed for.
I was going to say that seems like a lot of fun for everyone that's not them.
Well, hey, we're spectators, so if it's
true.
fun for us, I apologize if it's not great. There's a human element to all these things, and we're not going to deal with them too much because it's just not our job, and it's not super relevant, I don't think, to the fans. At least I am. I'm very desensitized. Like, I just watched my number 1 cornerback and my number 1 wide receiver get traded off my football team, and it took me about 14 hours to get over it. So
what about the fact that the people you traded for got hurt already?
Oh, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. He hurt his chest. He finished practice. It's worse than it looked at the time. But if you want to worry me about a wide receiver injury, it better be an ankle. It better be a knee. Anyways, enough about football.
Yeah.
But you want me to just move along here?
Well,
grab the next one on the list?
here's the one question, and it doesn't need to. It could definitely spiral out of control in terms of the tangent, but it doesn't need to.
Sure.
If you are selfless, or rather, if you are NRG and if you are Brad Rajani, and if NRG just says, if Shaq and the owners just say, here's the keys to the car, you drive it. If it crashes, it's on you. If it drives well and you win the race, it's on you. You've got the keys. Go ham. Do you have Dufran?
No.
Hold on. Not now because he can't play. But do you have Dufran lined up?
No.
You don't think so?
No. 100% not. It's Colin Kaepernick can't find a team either. If you're a distraction and a cancerous presence in the locker room, you don't have a spot in the league. And I think I think he's proven that he does not have a maturity level that would be required to participate as a professional in probably anything, but definitely not in video
here's the other
games.
thing. How old was he? How old is he now? Probably early 20s, maybe even younger. Let's just say 2 years. 2 years is too long. He's probably too old. Okay, no, you're right. I wouldn't pick him up either.
Because look at the mess that happened with TSM when they picked up the Torque brothers, or the TJO brothers. It's just it becomes you put a reputation on your organization when you do it, and selfless. He and Brad was the owner of the organization when they made a firm decision to not. We're going to keep him around until after it's over. It was go away.
Yeah.
Like, they released him. They cut him. They said, we don't want you representing our organization anymore. And I don't think Brad is going to try to look. Now Brad's not the boss, right? He's got to answer to Shaq, of all people. Are you going to go look Shaq in the eye and tell him you're going to give his organization a bad name? I don't think so.
No, because you're going to need a step stool or two.
Right. You couldn't look him in the eye if you wanted to. That's
true. I still wish that the Bills would have had Michael Vick and Terrell Owens on the same team at the same time. But it's neither here nor there. Let's move right along. We did see some new Overwatch League spots get snapped up. For the life of us, neither of us can remember if we talked about this on the show last episode or not. But there definitely was at least part of this that was that's new. So
I figured out what we talked about last week, and we talked about how they said to expect 3 more teams. I think Manny said to expect 3, but we already had the Dallas-Fort Worth announcement.
Yep.
And we were saying to hang tight and wait for the next 2. We expect them to come later in the week, and here they are. So why don't you give the details here, and then we'll...
Yep, so we've got the next 2 spots in Overwatch League, London and a second Los Angeles spot have been purchased.
So we forgot to get the crow sounds so that you could eat your crow. We were both pretty distinctly wrong in our conversation about this last week.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that you were far more spectacularly wrong than I was.
Right, as per usual.
But we talked about how there was very likely, or it's very possible that there's two teams in one city here, and I really said to look at New York for this, as they have two in just about everything. LA, I don't know if I said it at the time. LA, I know I have in the past, but whether it was in last episode or not, LA is the other market that had a real chance to, have two teams in its city, and I think this definitely just makes it more likely that a second New York spot goes, right? Because they've already kind of broken that barrier, said they're okay with it. We've got contract language in the Miami team that says they can't put another team in that city, and we didn't hear that about the New York spot. So I think it's fair to say they're at least trying to sell a second New York if they can.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about having the huge difference for esports specifically about New York versus LA is that there's so much more esports and technology on the West Coast than the East Coast. Like the East Coast is just not as big of a hub for esports as the West Coast is, just in general. So I think it makes a lot more sense for a second Los Angeles team than for a second New York team. However, I agree that there almost certainly will be a second New York team if that's not ruled out of the contract. Yeah. I would be surprised if we don't see like a San Francisco team or two San Francisco teams, honestly. Like the Northern California for Southern California. I'm surprised we didn't see a San Francisco team before we saw the second LA team. I mean, maybe honestly, I think something that would make sense is like the reason that there's not that we haven't heard a San Francisco team yet is because there's only going to be one spot for whatever reason. I don't know the legality or the negotiations behind it, but if that spot hasn't been revealed yet because it hasn't been settled yet, because probably a lot of people are bidding and it's probably going to be one of the higher ones, especially if there's exclusivity on the number of teams in the area. So I would be shocked if we didn't see. I'd be super shocked that we would see two LA teams and no San Francisco team before we saw two LA teams before we saw the San Francisco team. But we did get our first EU spot in London, and the crow that I have to eat is that the London spot was picked up by American esports team Cloud9, who I went on a little bit of a rant last week about how I was sad that I didn't think Cloud9 was probably going to be in Overwatch League, which looking back was just a dumb thing to say. They're like one of the, like, they were, I think Team Liquid, I think Team Liquid might have been the first, like, big esports organization to sign an Overwatch team, but Cloud9 was definitely one of the first. They won the first LAN, I'm pretty sure, that won at, like, Esports Arena or whatever. Like, Cloud9 has been an Overwatch institution since Overwatch esports was a thing. So.
Oh yeah, they've been steady in the scene for a long time.
Yeah, and I mean, for what it's worth, like I was sad that I thought that I came to that conclusion, but I'm happy that I'm wrong. So. Although I wish they would have been, the Toronto or Buffalo team, even though neither of those teams have been announced yet or are confirmed.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of kind of sub news to this that came out, and it appears as though Fnatic was actively trying to get that London spot. This is from a Reddit post. It's nothing super official, but just there, I didn't even read too deep into it because unless it's coming from something official, I don't like to know too much. But there was just, they were trying to like send emails or whatever to inquire about it and further the discussion, and apparently Blizzard didn't reply. And I mean, I get that's frustrating, but like in my head, I'm thinking, don't you call? Like, if you're trying to buy something for $20 million, you don't call them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you email it. But
so for what it's worth,
time,
side note: if there's any esports organizations that are trying to get in contact with Blizzard or need business development skills, tweet at me. I'll get.
Well, we'll help you out. If you're shooting emails and not getting replies, I can probably get somebody on the phone.
Yeah, that's.
You'll have to give me the phone number to dial, but I'll dial it for you.
I don't even need the phone number. I'll find it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I've been a bill collector. I know how to research phone numbers.
That's literally what I do for my job.
But yeah, so I don't know, and it's. I think the big news here is just that Fnatic wants into the league, right? So it just tells me that they to definitely expect more, more incoming team announcements, things like that. So definitely really excited by that. Fnatic is an org that I've enjoyed every time they've had a team, and partially because of the roster they went out and got. But if that's not a good enough reason to like an esports organization, then there are no good reasons.
Color of the jersey.
I'll be excited to see where they end up. Guys, Toronto's open. If you like non-U.S. markets, I hear Toronto's open. And at this point, I'm going to give up and not even waste your time or my breath on trying to get you to go to Buffalo.
I don't know, man. The Pagulas could be the saving grace.
Talk to the Pagulas if you need money. They're the only ones in Buffalo that have it. They own both of our major sports teams up here now. So, but yeah. Anyways, kind of moving along here, we're going to move more into the roster changes and player movements and things like that have happened. So buckle up because there's a fair few of those if you want to get us started on them, Blevins.
Yep. So we've got Rainforce dropped from Misfits, which is an interesting one. He's been a mainstay with that team since the big trade, the one that broke my heart so long ago from Rogue. I mean, I don't know, we won't spend too much time on it because we do have a lot more to talk about, but it just seems like the whole Misfits, like old Rogue Misfits lineup has just been falling apart, man. Like, what? I don't know. It just seems like the team itself, Misfits, is cursed. Like, I feel like that one trade cursed everyone.
Yeah, I mean, not Rogue. They did fine. It's funny because we talked very distinctly about how, when that trade happened, what would probably happen is there would be one very clear winner in the trade. One team that does okay and sticks around a little bit, and then one team that lost big time and is going to disappear. And LG Loyal completely disappeared. Yeah. And Misfits hung on for a while and did okay and didn't completely fall apart, and Rogue went on to take over the scene pretty handily by storm. So it was, great to be proven right there. I wish we had the insight enough and the foresight to identify which one would have been the winner there. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, Reinforce, and I've talked about this for a while. I thought this would have happened a while ago. Because once the meta shifted into dive and completely away from Reinhardt and forced Reinforce to play Winston like 100% of the time, he didn't look as high impact or as good of a player as he did when he was on Reinhardt. But with that said, they waited so long. The last time I saw him play, I was actually pretty impressed with him. I thought he did pretty well. I didn't feel like he was the worst player on the team anymore. So I don't know, and not that he was the worst player, but just kind of playing in a role that didn't allow him to play, at the same level as the other guys. I don't know. I thought he turned it around a little bit. I thought he did well. So now I'm kind of happy though, because it let him get that skill up, and then now he's released, and now he's got a better Winston game, so he's going to have a better opportunity to land a spot on an Overwatch League roster, or at least find a home in some other team or in some other place. And we got to see him on the analyst desk a little bit this weekend, so that was always great. He's a really fun guy. He has a good rapport with the talent there, the broadcasting talent. So it was great to see him around there, and I really liked seeing the news kind of came out in the middle of the event this weekend, and it was really funny. There was Reinforce LFT OWL, looking for Overwatch League team or something. It was a lot of fun, and it was fun to see the crowd kind of pick up on the current events and adapt to it and make some signs for it. So good on you guys.
Real life Twitch chat is the best Twitch chat.
Always, 100%, because it's super obnoxious when it's on Twitch, and then it's just absolutely hilarious when it comes off the platform and hits real life. So. That'll be a big one. I thought that was probably the biggest roster move that happened, at least player move, I should say.
And so I would say I'd love to have Reinforce on the show, which I would, to interview him. But I saw a clip of who I'm pretty sure it was him playing, but it was him. It was Reinforce playing ping pong. I officially challenge Reinforce to a match of ping pong. We'll play. I don't know, whatever stakes he wants to play for, I'll play.
First of all, I don't even think you could beat me at ping pong.
I would probably crush you.
I mean, it's cute when people say that, unless you're in practice and play regularly.
I do, literally every day.
Okay. Well, I don't get to play often, but when I did, I was fairly good. And nonetheless, you name the time and the place, and I will take
Literally
it.
any day of the week at my office.
All right. You can fight people in order of height. So it's me,
Yeah.
and then it's reinforce.
Is he taller than you?
No, that's why I go first.
No, you should be last. You're the boss.
I don't know, man.
You're the boss fight. Whatever. I want to play both of you at ping pong and crush both of you. But let's move right along after the challenges. I mean, I definitely would play anyone in ping pong. I'll play anyone in the world in ping pong and probably win. I'm the best ping pong player of all time. But we saw mistakes is no longer part of 1-2-3 as well. And in the replacement of that, we saw Hafi, Cool, and Finzi join 1-2-3. The roster is for 1-2-3 is now Snillo, Hafi, Cool, Finzi, Tonic, Bak1, and Denia. Any comments on the 1-2-3 roster, Death?
No, it's going to be curious to see them, and they're going to be active this weekend with this new roster, right? So they're making all these moves right before the biggest tournament they've ever been in, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I guess season 1 would have to be bigger than season 0.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys gel, and I know they've kind of had a roster opening for a little bit now. So presumably, at least one of those two have been playing with them and scrimming with them, so that one might not be a super last second replacement, but whichever one of the two wasn't in that spot for a while is probably got a little bit of catching up to do. So they were kind of a breakout tournament in contenders last time, so it's going to be great to see them back in action. Because of that, I don't have a ton of tape and memory bank about their style and everything like that, so it's going to be really curious to see how they react to the changes, if they can keep their momentum, and they were on fire the last time around. I remember talking to I Play Games about it, that I really thought that they looked like they might be kind of that next up and coming top team in the game to kind of break out. And they didn't disappoint me the following week in contenders, and now it's up to them to continue it now, because this is the time. I mean, the active player signing window is literally open right now. Like, you could do really well in contenders, go home, and there's a message on your answering machine or a message in the voicemail on your phone that is from an organization that wants to sign you to their OWL team. So there's so much pressure on these guys this coming weekend and throughout the contenders event, and I cannot wait to see it get underway, and especially on the EU side, I feel like there's less storylines, but this one is probably the biggest to me because of how still relatively unknown 1-2-3 is. Like, I haven't seen him in anything since contenders, and so I'm just kind of sitting around waiting for them to get to play again, and that silence will be broken. So yeah, keep an eye on those two, especially Finzi and Hafakul. If either of them are standing out, I think that'll really put everybody on notice. If one of the two new additions is standing out and really making high impact plays for the team, they have a real shot to win it all.
Yeah.
Also, I love that Finzi's name is Finnbjorn. Like, it looks like he's just going by the first name Finn, but he's just such a big Torbjorn fan that he just shoved it in there and tried to make it work.
Yeah,
that's truly phenomenal.
Do wish my name was Blevborn. That would be
right.
Blevbjorn. Blevbjorn. That'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, so definitely going to be an interesting story on the EU side for contenders, and it is really interesting to see that these contenders tournaments are basically the showcase tournaments where all the scouters and recruiters are going to be watching you. So you better start showing off. I wouldn't be that surprised if we saw players actually play kind of show offy to just try to kind of get that highlight reel of okay, well, I need to all of the recruiters and scouters are going to be watching, so let's take things in my own hands. Sort of thing. But
yeah, I mean, there might be a conversation with some of these guys like, hey, everybody thinks I'm a Genji main. Can I please show off my depth of hero pool here a little bit? When we're playing against an easier matchup, can we do something deathball-y? I want them to see my Reaper. And that should be a conversation these teams and orgs are having. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see if anybody gets a little memey and then gives a team momentum and then they get reverse swept. Like that would be insane to see happen and play out. So I'm really excited. I've been waiting a lot. Like, I like the World Cup, but like we've talked about how I feel like it's kind of an exhibition match, and it's not, I don't think it's like a super high compete level for a tournament. So this is what I have been like since the moment Left Guy said the last word in the broadcast of season 0. I have been just waiting for season 1 of Contenders to get started. So I am super pumped about this weekend, and we're starting to practice again as a team. Like I'm going to be so all into Overwatch again. I'm pumped.
Gonna be sweet, and I'll actually play some games too. Got a ranking. It's gonna be great.
Doubt it.
Everything's gonna be great. You never know. You win some, you lose some. But let's move on. Cloud9 signed all of Laser Kittens, as well as Alicus is signed to run the London Cloud9 Overwatch League team. And the new Cloud9 roster will have Nevix in to play DPS. So some big Cloud9 changes.
Big Cloud9 changes. Now, I think we have not seen any word. Like, they've signed this roster to compete in Contenders under their name. I don't know the length of the contract. It might even just be literally a one-off for this event. But I do think they a little bit kind of claimed these guys a little bit, right? Like, this is an NA organization that just bought an EU spot, like an EU home in the Overwatch League, and then immediately signs a full up-and-coming, like really talented EU roster to their organization, adds Nevix in, who's a very solid EU player, really, really good. He's going to be playing DPS for him. So now they took this 6-stack, they added a 7th to it. There's 12 spots in the Overwatch League. Like, I really think there's a very real chance here that Alicus wanted Laser Kittens, and he wants to bring them in and kind of have them be the London team. Now, that's not official yet, but it really, really looks like it's heading that way.
Yeah.
So definitely keep an eye open for that.
I mean, it might not be official because it might not be decided yet. Like, if they flop, then,
Right, yeah, it could be a tryout, right? But, yeah, C9 did not have a horse in the Contenders race, so now they do. And I think it was very important to them, even if they only signed him for the one event, I think it was very important to them that the name Cloud9 was in the biggest tournament that was going on. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like they want to ingratiate their brand in everything Overwatch now, and rightfully so. So we'll have to wait and see how they do. But I do think Laser Kittens, I mean, they looked really good, so I think there's a good chance that they look really strong in this event. And we've seen in the past, a new signing gives you a boost. New orgs, new stuff like that, like that will get those players hyped up. They will want to rep the org well, and they know more than we do about what if any correlation there is to their signing in the home of the Overwatch League team. So they'll know if they need to be all in on it.
Right. But in any case, big stuff from Cloud9. Of course, the week after, I predict that they're not going to be in Overwatch League.
Perfect timing. That right there is why, in and of itself, is more than enough to make me a Cloud9 fan. But I just want to say, on a side note, right now they are my clubhouse favorite for the team that I will be a fan of going, because I love everything they've done. I love that they grabbed the London spot. EU didn't have a home yet. They desperately needed one, and they got one. They gave one to them. They are a proven organization that knows how to manage esports teams. I think that gives them an immediate leg up over the real sports. Now, depending on how they staff their organizations, obviously will make a difference in how the newcomers do to esports. But I just think that the things are stacking up really well. I love that they're getting EU talent on their roster already. They've signed, in my opinion, very likely to be the best coach that was out there. So, yeah, we will have to wait and see. I mean, it's called the Lombardi Trophy, so all Alicus has to do now is win the first, 3 championships in a row, and then it will be the Alicus Memorial Trophy or whatever. Right. I think it would have to be, right? That's the way these things work. I don't know. I love everything that's happened here. If you're from London, if you're from the EU and you wanted a team and you wanted a home, don't be, I know at least Icarium was worried about an NA org coming over. I guess it hasn't worked well for them in soccer and things like that. But this isn't soccer. So just, yeah, I'd say be excited about this. I think good things are coming for you guys. And I'm at this point, it looks like I'm going to be throwing my hat in for this particular roster. I mean, there's so much news to come out. I expect to be a big fan of to change 17 times before everything comes out. But right now, they're definitely in the lead.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be hard for me to root for a team that I'm not going to go see at home like that.
Well, one thing I'll say to that is it's a small league, so they're going to be coming to town more often than it say would happen, to try to be like an NFC fan of a football team.
Oh, no, for sure. I don't disagree with that, but it's like there's something about the like being at the home arena. I don't know. But yeah, definitely gonna be big stuff from Cloud9, and it's just like so exciting, just like waiting for the other announcements and the other teams that are joining. So
and they've been so fast. I don't even think we're gonna have to wait long. Like it was like we recorded and like instantly things started happening again, and I was like glad it waited for the first time ever. I was glad news came out like right after we recorded. I could
look like an idiot.
Well, that and it was just like we didn't have room in the last episode to talk about it. Like so, everything is so far coming up high noon.
Coming up high noon, for sure.
And we got to be way over here, though, right?
We're super over. We're at a full episode already, like without. So, well, whatever. Last thing we'll talk about here before the interview is we got Deathmatch into the arcade mode. Woo. Do we have a crickets? Do we have a cricket sound? Like, do you care about this at all, Death? Like, is this relevant to you?
I'm a little curious how they're going to implement it because I know it's not team deathmatch. You're every man for themselves.
There is team deathmatch.
Well, there might be both, but
there is both. That was in the update. Jeff,
I'm a little curious. Yeah, I didn't watch it because it was about deathmatch and arcade mode. But yeah, I mean, I don't plan to play it much, but I'll probably check it out just to see how it's implemented. It's kind of one of these weird game modes that I feel like doesn't take you so far out of the game that you might not be helping yourself a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense, but like if you need to practice your McCree aim, like deathmatch might be a really good spot to do that because it's just a lot of people moving around that you can shoot. Like there's more targets to shoot at, right? And than there is anywhere else, and there's people coming from weird locations. So I don't know. This is one that actually might be like beneficial to competitive and like aspiring pro players and people that are trying to get better at the game. Like this one might actually be beneficial for them. So I'm a little bit more interested in this one than I've been in the past, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how good it is. I'm not going to go into PTR to try it out, but I'll check it out once it hits live.
Yeah, the only reason well, I mean, I like deathmatch as a format just because it's just nice. Sometimes it's just nice to just go in and just be able to kill stuff, not worry about a team. Like it's pressure. If you're not a complete dick and you actually care about like the well-being of your team, like regardless of whether you win or not, like if you don't care but you just want to play and not have to worry about taking down others, sometimes it's just nice to do deathmatch. And just be like, oh, you know what, I did terrible, but you know what, other people did all right, and they're like, oh, I'm doing all right. Okay, let's do this, and like just be able to like kind of like chill and play. That's nice. And also the cool thing they announced is like, so they're gonna have 8. It's gonna be 8 people, 8-person deathmatch for the solo. You get credited for a win in terms of it counting towards your loot boxes, your arcade loot boxes, if you are in the top half. So if you're in the top 4, you get a win. So it's going to be slightly easier to get wins in those. So I might actually do them. So I'm a little bit excited, but honestly, it's whatever.
Right, it's a casual player's move, and basically everything that they put in the arcade mode is a casual player's move. So it's not anything we'll talk too in depth about. But team deathmatch might potentially down the line might be something they wanted to try to implement because I think that has an outside shot. I mean, I don't expect it to be, but it has an outside chance of maybe late in the life of the game to be added in as a game mode. Yeah. Whereas, like, I think maybe capture the flag might have a more immediate chance, though. I don't think so the way they kind of went with it, but yeah, I don't know. So I always keep it. Whenever they release a new game mode, it perks my interest just a little, piques my interest just a little bit, just to tell me, just pay enough attention to know if you even want it to be in comp or not. And then after that, I let it go.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's like I forgot that Capture the Flag was even a game mode. Like, it's just so uninteresting to me.
And Team Deathmatch has been, ever since they implemented King of the Hill, Team Deathmatch has been around for the most part. So,
yeah, exactly. But so that is going to be it for our normal show. We got to decide here, Death. We're at an hour 10 right
now. Yeah, I mean, when we listen, hopefully we're gonna have a lot more interviews lately. So let's just make the episodes longer when we have them, right? Because we still need to cover all the OWL news. So yeah, let's just like normal, just put it in the episode. We don't gotta do a separate one because we don't know the conversation will be long enough to warrant it. So
yeah. So we're gonna pass this over to me and Dogman here in just a second. But thank you guys for listening, and enjoy the interview. Welcome back, everybody. I am here again from Podcast Future Past. I don't know how to explain it, but I am here with a very special guest, the support player for Kungarna, Mr. Dogman. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's always nice to get some pro players and players who are just so significantly better than me that it just makes me sick to my stomach that I even own a copy of the game.
I mean, I'm not that much better than the average player, I don't think.
But I'm that much worse than the average player is what it really boils down to.
Like down like towards the bronze level, or
no, I mean I'm not actually that bad, but
okay.
Yeah, I'm like
well, you got to get that out there. You got to give yourself some credit. I'm a plat player, 25, 62, rocking the plat. And taking names in Zenyatta or whatever, wherever you play.
No, I sometimes fill in for Deathblow's team during scrims, and I'm just forced to play Lucio. They try to get me to play other heroes, but they're just like, you know what, just play Lucio and just don't die. And I'm like, okay, I got it, guys.
Nothing wrong with being a Lucio. I mean, honestly, I was that for the whole team, like a whole month or two, 3 months, I think. I just switched to Lucio and just played Lucio pretty much. Actually, mechanically skilled Lucios are extremely valuable. So
yeah,
can't rest.
Unfortunately, I'm not a very mechanically skilled Lucio. I'm gonna try to provide as much healing as possible and not die as much as possible, which I guess is pretty good. But enough about me. The viewers know way too much about me already. Let's start with you. And the way I like to start all of these interviews is I always start with like, I just want to know what is your gaming or esports or however you want to do it. What's your origin story for gaming?
What's my origin story? Holy smokes!
Yeah, and I'll give you this. I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but it is kind of a contest. We have some pretty good answers to this question, but no pressure, no pressure.
Well, smokes! I just saw the question like 10 minutes ago, so I didn't have time to prep, unfortunately. But I did happen to start over. I don't know how long ago. This was when was the PS2 released? The PlayStation 2? I don't know.
God,
we're talking about like origin stories, right?
Like how you started in gaming, like just from the beginning. What was it? I was born with an N64 controller in my hand,
no.
or
I'm not that much of a legend. I pretty much I think I just owned a PS2 back in the day, and then I used to go to like I don't remember how long ago, but me and my dad just like went to I walked to Blockbuster towards a prize. Yeah, some people may not know what Blockbusters are.
Those whippersnappers.
It's actually been dead for like 10 years, I think, right? Or bankrupt. I don't even know.
Man, it's crazy to think.
Yeah, I started with like Star Wars Battlefront 2. You probably know that game. It's pretty good. And I mean, honestly, the new one's trash, to be honest. EA kind of screwed it up, but whatever. But I played that initially, and then I like played some motorcycle games or whatever for a while, and then eventually got a computer when I was like 10. And then I started playing GTA 3 or whatever on the PC, and just some other free games and whatever, the typical start on the PC life. And from then on, I just kind of went from game to game. I started League for a little bit with my friends, but they're all so much better than me. I hung out with the Asian crew in high school. Not to make any like racial like comments or anything, but like all my friends are like super smart.
Yeah.
So I was like the one. I mean, we had a white guy in the group too with me, but he was also super smart. So I was like because I'm Jewish and they called me the Jew of the group. So it's like they had like their the Koreans, the Japanese, and all the Asians, and then my smart friend that was like a intelligent ass dude. And they're like top 1% of the school, right? So
Oh, wow.
they're all good at RTSs and like MOBAs and stuff, and I'm like over here like gold or like silver in like League or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're all like diamond level, and I'm just trying to scrub my way on by. But when we switched to like Counter Strike, because I forced them to play Counter Strike one time, they're all pretty much trash. So I have an advantage compared to them in terms of FPSs. So I kind of just like I stuck with it because of my friends. It's like, oh, I'm actually the best at this, even though everybody hates FPSs. I'm actually good at this, and they're all bad. So it's like I'm just gonna grind the hell out of this game for the next like I don't know how long. I did it for like 5 years of just straight up CS:GO, off and on a little bit, but not as much as I was with League. I played that for a long time, and then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go anywhere in this scene. I'm like, 16, 17. I'm just gonna hope that within the next couple of years, I'll be like that perfect age, 18 for that next big game, because usually like I don't know, a 16-year-old and 15-year-old whatever in CS:GO, like you don't really have a career in my opinion. It was just so hard to get your name out there. You're a kid, you don't know how to improve, and I just kind of gave up on that dream and just wanted to find a game to play, and that competitive drive is what took me to Overwatch, because I was telling you about Doom beforehand. I played that for whatever the beta was. I played that like 16 hours a day for the 2 days it was out, and I pre-ordered it, and I was like, this game's going big. There's going to be an esport for Doom. And all my friends like, no, this is going to die. The multiplayer sucks, nobody's going to play this. And I was like, yeah, I guess not. Like all that, ecstatic nature of a new game trying to go competitive in it was like gone. So it's like, luckily, when Overwatch was released, or was in like beta or whatever, or closed beta, I was like, this game looks like trash, man. Like, I don't know. It looks so bad. Like I was like, this is just TF2 4.0, 2.0, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way this game is gonna actually kick off. This is all these streamers are just paid to play this game, and then open beta comes around, in May, right? And my friend's like, you need to play this, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, I'll try it out. And I came in, I just like tried the Widowmaker, and I was like, holy crap, this hero's fun as hell. And I got to playing Widowmaker for a little bit, and eventually I went to Agents Rising. I don't know if you've heard of that land.
Oh yeah, we covered that way back in the day. That shows you how far back we go on in High Noon World.
It'll be 3 years, and then that'll be the first. Was that the first? That was the first.
The first LAN.
First LAN, yeah. And I
think
went to that. Like Reddit, there was a group of people. I was like trying to find a group to go with, and like there was only one group looking for 2 support players, and I was a mercy main pretty much at the LAN for the first LAN ever, and then I was like, all my teammates were like, not that great. They weren't really like they obviously didn't stick around after Agents Rising.
Yeah.
And it was actually where I met Calvin. Surprisingly, about Calvin, I met him at Agents Rising, and I was actually gonna play for his team, but my friend because I was gonna actually play Hitscan for him back then. I was gonna play McCree, and he's gonna be like Widow or whatever in the whatever, was it No Hero Limit? Yeah, it was No Hero Limit.
Yeah, back then, and that was also like broken McCree days.
Yeah, the right click McCree. I didn't even right click on McCree, to be honest with you. I just left click. I didn't even abuse the mechanic.
I didn't even need to do it.
No, it's just the mechanic was so rewarding and fun. Like right clicking, not that fun in comparison. Obviously, it's easy and it feels good to shred a tank, I guess, and right click. But that those days were over. I missed the opportunity because my friend convinced me to stick with him, I guess, and made me feel bad. So I competed under like Team Flaming Dragons or something like that for that LAN. And then from then on, I just kind of stuck with it, grinded 16 hours a day, because I realized everyone in this game's like terrible aiming. They're not from CS like I was, so I was like, I have an advantage. I can aim. Most people can't. So I was like, I'll just stick with it.
I can't.
Nah, I mean, you shouldn't feel bad. Most people can't really, to be honest. And like, honestly, if you stick with it, like maybe you can eventually like get some muscle memory. But I feel like Overwatch is kind of a hard one to develop like good muscle memory on like most heroes, if it's not McCree.
Yeah, that's why I just use Monkey. Just
That was
just
really,
just lightning rod everyone.
no, I mean, monkey actually requires a ton of skill, to be honest. Like, I could not be a monkey main, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can be a like low diamond or no, a low platinum. I can be a low platinum monkey man. Um,
Good enough.
but so let's just recap this. So you are
It's a long story. Sorry, I didn't mean
you're a competitive Overwatch player whose first impression of the game was, man, this game's gonna be lame.
to. I thought Doom was a better game,
I'm
man.
gonna play Doom instead.
Yeah, I wanted to go pro with the Vortex rifle, be a sniper in that game, man. Like,
I
that was
mean,
insane.
the the Doom is a very visually impressive game. That
Yeah,
much.
that's why everyone liked the single player, but apparently the multiplayer is too slow for people, and then
Mm,
hence where Quake Champions comes in.
yeah, like
But
the fastest thing ever. Like I can't even comprehend it. But so I'll just tell you the story you were competing against for your origin story was actually our very first guest, Adam Hoek, who makes video game music. We had him on the show like 1,010 years ago, and his origin story was he started playing video games because he wanted to challenge a DJ at a boys club to a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 match.
huh? So he just grinded Tony Hawk or
Yeah,
something
he
like
he
that.
literally grinded it like
What the
grinding and
hell?
the yeah like
That's
just
crazy.
yeah, it's just like the craziest story ever. So
That sounds like that's real quick. That sounds like me trying to get on a healthy diet. Like my Pook's my current teammate. He like recommended the keto diet to me because he said it's like, oh, to help your focus. And I was like, I need to eat healthy anyways. You might as well go extreme, you know. And I just started doing the keto diet during Contender Season 0,
uh
and I was like dying by the time I had to play Cloud9 at the freaking end of that. Like, I don't know. I sometimes like you just get inspired, and you just randomly want to do something.
yeah, I have done that type of diet before. Not for me.
No,
Not for
no.
me. But that actually kind of transitions. You mentioned Cloud9, and there's been some I won't say animosity, but we'll say trash talk between Kungarna and Cloud9. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
With Kungarna and Cloud9, oh smokes, that was pretty much it all started kind of, I guess, when about a year ago. I don't know. I wasn't part of Kungarna back then, so this is more
Oh, okay.
of a team like it's more of like team history, I guess. Less
Okay.
mine. But however, it started when I guess like Surefour like said something to Michael in a pub game or
Hmm.
even in like competitive game like a year ago. So it's like Michael like wanted like revenge or something like that. So for a year, like it's kind of like a rival like fantasy kind of. He just
Yeah.
kind of grinded and played with a bunch of different players, and eventually, we got to face him. And then there was just some trash talk and banter there because Michael called him washed up or something like that. And then we back and forth pretty much. They beat us like I don't know how long, like a month before, and then
Hmm.
we played contenders, and then we got our revenge, and it was like one of the I don't know, it was one of the best things to happen to the team.
Yeah, and honestly, like just from our perspective of covering the esports side of it and like the upcoming Overwatch League, like those types of stories are what get people in. Those are what get people who don't even know anything about esports in. It's like the drama and the grudge matches, so to speak. So that's super
Yeah,
awesome.
there was some on me recently, even like I don't know, I don't even say anything like that provocative, but
Uh-huh.
people just are hunting now just for something to get a hold of. So it's like I made
Yeah.
like one comment about Jake or like NRG or something like that,
Uh-huh.
and all of Reddit just started flocking on it. I had said there's some people like, trying to white knight me, but I was like I'm gonna keep saying my opinion. I don't really care if I offend people. It's just kind of it's my opinion. You don't have to listen if you don't want. You don't have to get your panties in a bunch just because I say Jake's an aggressive player or something like that.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
So would you say that there's a place that you are in favor of trash talking in esports and in Overwatch?
I think so. I mean, I don't really do too much of it to be honest. I just say what I think, but I think I am at least for players like I can team with anyone, but some of the most fueled players are like players like Michael and like Baby Bay not as much,
Hmm.
but pretty much just Michael. He gets fired up when he starts talking trash. He gets all on someone's virtual face, and he just starts talking smack, and it gets him going. And then when you beat him, like it actually gets in their head. I talked
Yeah.
to Rolf at the World Cup actually, and he said, yeah, that stuff really gets into like Surefour's head and those players' heads. It actually mentally screws with them so hard that they start shaking when it's 1-to-1, and it's like the end of the day. They're mentally fatigued, and then that starts to kick in. The trash talk starts to hit you mentally, and it's no joke. That's actually like a real hard game for those players to play.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Deathblow and myself are very much in favor of the trash talk, and I think a lot of people are. I think where it kind of can get bad is if people take it too far and it stops being trash talk and it's more just like
Just
like
insulting.
hazing and insulting. It's not funny,
Yeah.
and it's not. But I think
Doesn't
some healthy trash talk is good for sure.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens in Korea sometimes, because people like start doing death threats and all that, and that's just not chill. That's over at that point. But no, I am too. Yeah, I agree. I think it's great for the scene for sure.
Yeah. So, one other thing I wanted to ask about the team, and for Contenders Season 1, with the World Cup going on and so many players being away from their teams, does Kungarna have an edge going into Contenders Season 1 since none of your players are on the national team?
I think to some degree, I went to the World Cup, so it was kind of like it was kind of like I don't know, for us initially, like oh, this is a great opportunity for us. We don't have anybody in the World Cup. I think like Bishu was like getting an offer from the Canadian roster to play for them. It was like up in the air, but we were like we did pretty much decided like it's best for the team to not do that. But then again, everyone was literally on a break till like last week. I talked to Immortals, they were on a break till last week. NVS just started scrimming like last week. Everyone's just getting back from the World Cup and scrimming 1 week before the tournament, or 2 weeks, I guess, and that's just like unthinkable, really. Like World Cup really does screw with the scene, especially like at such a volatile time like this. Like, I don't know, the players, it's understandable because like you need to get your name out there, and the World Cup is super good for that.
Right.
But at the same time, if you want that competitive edge, you just stick out of it. And you grind,
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely. I mean, it really kind of makes it feel like traditional sports where you gotta mix the actual playing and training with the networking and the almost like the business side of it too.
Yeah.
Which I find super interesting, but I know it can probably be taxing on the players for sure. But speaking of the World Cup, you did mention that you'd just been there. Did you meet anyone cool? I know I saw a picture on your Twitter with Nate Nanzer. Any other notable meetups or stories from that?
Not really. I just met up some casters. I met up with the USA team and all them for like KBBQ. Met with my friend Calvin in there, and Kayun and Hydration, some of the CLG guys. A lot of players. Notable people, kind of not really. There's like they don't really care about contenders teams, it felt like. So like Immortals had like a backstage pass, like they had like a private tent in the back or whatever, and I wasn't cool enough to do that. Unfortunately, they don't. Contenders teams like they don't give them special treatment. But
that's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. But I did meet an answer. I met Zoe or Kiki. Working in the East department. Also, Bare Hands. He's the GM of the New York team, the Patriots team. No. Sorry, that's Huck.
Huck is the Patriots. That's
Huck
the
is
Boston
Patriots.
team. Yeah.
That's the Boston team, but Bare Hands is in charge of New York. That's what it was. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, met with a couple of those guys.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool. I mean, I never get any preferential treatment anyway. If anything, I get uninvited to things that they didn't know who I was before. But so what was the atmosphere like at the tournament? I don't know if you've been to any of these other Blizzard run like LAN tournaments or like BlizzCon or anything like that, but like what was it like? Was it hyped up? Was it good production?
Yeah.
Like, what was it?
It was really hype. I don't know if it was up there with BlizzCon. I think I went to BlizzCon. I tried to make it. The reason I did go to this event was obviously to like meet people and meet my friends and all that, but was also kind of to like go to every event. That's kind of like been my thing. Is like I went to MLG Vegas even though I wasn't playing. I was I went to BlizzCon. I went to Agents Rising. How many other? That's like been the only amount of lands. There's like no lands in NA. But
Yeah, I think
actually, I didn't go to PAX for NGE.
there
But
I think there might have been one or two others, but yeah, there's not a lot.
no, yeah, I try to go to most of them. And I went to this one, and it was pretty great. I mean, obviously the USA chants were pretty insane.
Hmm.
And for the most part, yeah, it was one of the best I think so far. I mean, I'm sure BlizzCon will be even more hype because apparently they're opening like a whole new esports wing, I guess.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, BlizzCon. So who knows? Maybe there'll be an entire stadium. I want them to have a stadium because so far, most of these events have been kind of small. Like BlizzCon was like in a small room that was like a little like gladiator arena kind of setup.
Yeah, it was
But
cool. It was just small.
yeah, and I think I'll be really impressed when they start doing like what Dota does for TI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like those massive venues and
Yeah.
stadiums are just amazing to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Even at BlizzCon, like it's hard for people, especially people who aren't super into esports, to really conceptualize just how intense those matches get, and
Yeah.
the cheering and whatnot. And one last thing I wanted to ask about, not necessarily with the World Cup, but with, I guess, these live events in general. Well, A, I want to ask, was there anyone booing at the event? And B, what is your stance on booing like the opposing teams in esports?
Uh, I don't think. Well, there was like it wasn't really booing teams for the most part,
Uh-huh.
since I feel like the storylines couldn't really be developed coming in
Right.
to the qualifiers
Hmm.
because I mean they're international teams. They haven't played before this tournament. So
Hmm.
I mean, for the most part, the only booing that happened was like for the commentators when they like said something wrong. It was like Gold Boy was getting booed for no reason or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind booing. I mean, obviously it's unsportsmanlike for the most part for the crowd to be booing, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have too much of an opinion. I haven't booed yet, so I don't know what that's like. You know, I only
Well,
get all the praises. No, I haven't played a LAN yet, so I can't say
yeah.
honestly.
I think we won't go too much into it now, but for the most part, High Noon Podcast is very in favor of booing. Um,
Oh, you guys like all the negative
yeah,
things.
we love everything. Well, I mean, because it's like booing and like that sort of rivalry is like an inherent part of traditional sports, and I think if Overwatch League really wants to differentiate itself from other esports, I think it's gonna really embrace the full spectrum of the traditional sports stuff. But
Yeah, well,
let's yeah.
that's bound to happen. Sorry, yeah, that's bound to
Okay.
happen with the city-based teams, I guess, right? I mean, that's what you're hoping on, right? For the
Well,
most part.
I think it really creates that sort of more than just oh, this is the team that's in my area, go New York, whatever. It's like that really builds that like emotional connection to the team, and like you already know like the New York team and the Boston team are going to hate each other because there's just like decades and decades of rivalries across all sports where like the New York team hates the Boston team. So
Well,
like I'd be surprised if
yeah.
that didn't just like out of the gate happen. Um, but I did want to talk a little bit more about Overwatch League, and this question comes a little bit from one of your tweets. But so do you think that the Overwatch League will be a mix of NA, EU, and Asia, or do you truly believe that the Koreans will just dominate all the teams from the start? Because
Um,
and I'll quote you here from your Twitter. You said, to be honest, none of these Koreans that have come over to NA have had any real negatives. Maybe the rosters really should be all Korean. Was that a little tongue in cheek or what?
no, it was legit. I really think that most of the Koreans, at least the Koreans that I think of, like Fate, like Kariv, like Carpe,
Hmm.
some of these players, I mean, besides like Matt, I mean, I guess there is a massive communication barrier that needs to be fixed, I guess,
Hmm.
and some Koreans may not be as keen to adjusting to the English language, but I
Hmm.
do think that really hasn't been any negatives for the Korean players. However, it's not really a fair ratio, I think, in
Right.
comparison because I mean there has been like Selly that was cut from C9, you know, but for the most part, the reason I said that was because there has been some more lackluster or more complications with NA players than there was with Koreans.
Mhm.
But again, that's like comparing like 100 people to like 5, so
Right.
it's not really a fair comparison. But I do think a lot of them have really proven themselves to be really valuable players for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's still kind of. I mean, they announced Overwatch League announced that there wouldn't be region locking, but I still think it's kind of a debated topic. Do you have an opinion on region locking, or should the quote unquote U or NA and EU teams actually have NA and EU players? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think eventually it should spread out to have NA players, Koreans in Asia and maybe even Eastern Asia, or is it East Pacific? I don't know. I like Taiwan and
Hmm.
whatever. I think that eventually it should be, but initially I don't think there's a massive issue with it. I don't know. It'll take them time if that happens, but you never know. Like with hockey or whatever, like there's like no like like American players. I don't think in hockey. There's like most Canadians and like
Hmm.
Russians or like the Coyotes in Arizona or
Right.
whatever. It's like
Right.
I don't know. I don't really have anything really against region locking, or vice versa. I don't really have anything. I'm in
Hmm.
the middle. I'm neutral on it. I think. I don't know if I could take that stance, but
Hmm.
I don't mind either way.
Yeah.
I'll make it.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, I think that's kind of the thought process you got to have anyway. Like, there's nothing like inherently better about the Korean players. They just probably train more than other people or have better training regimens or whatever, but it's not something that you like can't get over, I wouldn't think. Um, but moving on and talking a little bit more about Overwatch League, do you know of any, have you or anyone that you know, have they been contacted by any Overwatch League teams or have gotten any interest from Overwatch League? Can you say anything on that?
I think I can just say yes, but that's where I think I have to leave it. It's just
Uh-huh.
yes, yeah. Some people have, and
Gotcha.
that's the
That's
premise behind it.
Yeah, that I've been talking to a lot of people, players, and other people in organizations, and I've been getting the same sort of answer of like, I
I
can
will
say that it has happened, and that's about it.
I will say that they are teams already that are already established and
Mhm.
have teams already.
Mhm.
I guess I can just throw out energy. Like they've contacted some of my teammates and even
Mhm.
myself, and I don't know. That's about it though for the most part. I mean, there's more, but I
Right.
can't really go into that in depth on those.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just like, from my perspective, it's just like super interesting. I like really want to see like these backdoor, like I want to see what's going on. Like I want to be able to speculate more than just like what you see on the outside.
Well,
But
that's the kind of stuff that actually fuels those rivalries because for the
hmm.
past like 3 months or whatever, or 2 months, like it's been constant back and forth with energy wasting my like our players' time, and for the most part, that
Really.
like is really on my nerves. Like that's why in that interview I like said, oh, energy should buy the slot so we can kick their ass or whatever, you know, and like because for like a while there I was like so freaking pissed off at them. Like they were toying with us for so long that I was like, you need to freaking stop. You're an Overwatch League spot. You need to freaking decide if you're gonna like take these players, like trial them for like a certain amount of time instead of just freaking messing with their brains, dude. Like the
Yeah.
traders are so mistreated in esports. It's actually insane, dude. Like I'm
Yeah.
not even players that have the potential and can make it now, like they're mistreated, and it's just actually so unfortunate that so many of these orgs have like screwed with players for so long. Not to say that NRG can't like have the potential to be such an amazing org or whatever, but it's it really I mean obviously it triggers me, you know.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like I know a lot of folks have talked about that, about how I mean it makes sense. Like a lot of the players are, young kids, you could even
Yeah.
say. So like the
No,
so
and oh sorry, I
no,
didn't
go
mean to
ahead.
interrupt. Yeah, but like some of these teams have like been offering their players the world. You know, they say not teams in Al even, but other players that I know that have been like contract locked until like January or whatever, and with a massive buyout because their org said they get an Al, but they're
Hmm.
just kids and they you know they
They
take
don't know
what
any
they hear
better.
and they yeah and they run with it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of these orgs that are obviously out now and should be out now are, convincing there's some young players that are pretty much screwed into a contract for who knows how long.
Yeah, it's really sad that that type of thing happens, and I'm hoping that the league will crack down
Yeah,
on that sort of stuff. Hopefully.
yeah.
Um,
All these are issues that'll be fixed in time, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, the past like 4 to however long has been just like a journey, like a hellish journey for the
yeah.
most part for a lot of players, even.
Yeah. So is it just like they're just like, oh, hey, we want you to try out, and then keep trying out, and then keep trying out, and then just like, never mind, or like what's kind of the process for that? Like, what are they actually doing that's kind of upsetting you?
Yeah, they've been pretty much what you've been saying. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I don't know how it is now. I don't think it's like this anymore with them because they've just changed management.
Hmm.
But before it was like apparently they didn't want to try out, or they didn't inform the player that was trying out until like the last minute, until it was like right before the scrim block. They're like, hey, you're trying out right now. You got to come or whatever. And it's like, what,
Oh,
you got to give me like at least a day notice, or a
yeah.
week notice preferably. It's just like you can't just keep doing this last minute crap to these players. It's just kind of it's bull crap.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like people have other lives. Like not everyone can, make a living playing and recording and whatnot. Like, and
Yeah.
it was like, hey, we've got a scrim in 30 minutes. You have to be here. It's like,
Well, yeah, back on my origin story, I was
yeah,
kicked out of my house for. I mean, you read that. I was kicked out of my house when I decided to go and pursue my dream in Overwatch and just
yeah,
drop college out of my life and just go on my own. And I mean, I was lucky enough to have a friend pick me up and give me a place to stay for free. But if I wasn't that lucky, I mean, I'd just kind of be screwed. And I still kind of am because I don't have a salary right now. So it's like for the past 3 months, I've been rocking on or been rolling on prize pool money and
hmm,
my stream and all the people that support my stream. So for the most part, it's a pretty scary time pre Overwatch League signing.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a challenge. And I mean, I salute you for going through it. And for anyone who's wondering what we're talking about, you put out a little mini story. Uh, I don't know what I would call it, like a blog post almost on your Twitter. It's your pinned
Bit
tweet right
longer.
now. Oh, twit longer. Okay.
That's
It's
what.
it's on your Twitter pinned post. I would definitely check it out at Dogman OW. The pin tweet. I thought it was a really cool story. Like, you don't see a lot of people like, actually going for what they want to do, and like, definitely applaud you for that.
It's definitely not recommended. If I didn't think I was good enough, I wouldn't do it honestly because
Yeah.
I have a free full ride college experience if I want to, but yeah, this opportunity doesn't really come up that often. There was like a good quote that I don't know if it's a quote, but specifically from Thorin or somebody said it's
Hmm.
like most of these players don't really like commit their entire lives. They're starting part-time jobs, they're in college or whatever,
Hmm.
and doing it on the side, and then they realize they're good enough, and then they have an offer or whatever. It's like that weird in between where you need to find out if you're actually good enough and if
Yep.
it's worth the time for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the type of thing that, I mean, just from my perspective, like, I think it's awesome that you're doing it. And like, I don't want to try to give out a bunch of advice, but like, college will always be there, man. The college is not going anywhere. It'll always be in the same spot, and you can always go back to college. You can't always go back and be a professional esports
Yeah,
athlete. So I mean,
well,
that's how I think about it.
for sure. And well, the thing is, like, a lot of parents don't understand that though. It's like a lot of them
Oh,
are
for
like,
sure.
it's like you're gonna be. They pretty much told me you're gonna be dumb in 8 years. You're not gonna remember anything in college. That's what they pretty much said. It's like if you go back to college when you're like 25, 26, and you're not gonna have the retention that an 18-year-old or 19-year-old is gonna have. And it's like, and the entire family is like a college family. So it's like if you don't go to college, you're pretty much just ragged on.
Yeah,
And
that's unfortunate.
but yeah, I mean they've been more accepting recently. It's just a matter of showing them the proof in the pudding.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to make a couple of 360 no scope headshot highlight reels, send them in, and they're just like, oh,
Send them to them.
yeah, just send them out like a Christmas card to your family.
Oh no. holographic GIF. That'd be
Yeah.
actually sick.
Ooh, I think we're on to something here.
The next big thing.
All right, drop the esports. We're doing our own side venture. Patent pending, patent pending, patent. But before we leave Overwatch League, is there anything else that you wanted to say about Overwatch, or any comments or stories regarding Overwatch League, or things that you're particularly excited about? Are there any? If you actually, I'll put it like this, because I asked 1,000 things right there. If you had to pick one, I guess, team owner, whether they've been announced in Overwatch or announced in Overwatch League or not, if it's just like a sports team, like who would you want to play for?
I pretty much have to say it's kind of shit. I can't talk. Swear jar.
Oh, there it is.
Noah Winston actually for Immortals. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I'm not playing with them, but however, I mean, I'd love to. The team is amazing. I know Grim, I know Verbo, Hyped, and all them, and Agilities. They're all awesome kids, and Noah Winston's an even greater guy. He like takes the time to talk to you, even if you're not, a current player for any rosters, and he gives advice, and it's pretty much like a family for me because I was trying out with them for a year, like a year ago, and ever since then I've been close with the guys of that team, and I don't know. There's nothing bad to say about them, I guess, is the best way I could put it. They're a great group of guys, and the org is even better, which is weird to say that an org is better than a bunch of players. But they're all like awesome guys, and I don't know else how to say that. I'd love to play for them. They're my dream team.
That's awesome, man. And not to say anything against Kungarna, but I hope you get there, man.
Thanks,
We're gonna be rooting for you. You'll always be part of the High Noon Podcast family from now on, whether you like it or not. You always will be. So one of the last things I wanted to ask you, and this is kind of off topic. I know we spent a lot of time on Overwatch League. Surprise, surprise, because it's the hot topic in Overwatch right now. But one of our viewers, by the name of Prodigy Matt, actually had a really interesting question that I think you'd have a unique perspective on about supports in competitive play. And is there anything that you can think of that might make supports be highlighted more in pro games? Because like you watch a pro match, and we've said on the show a number of times, it's like the only time you notice a Lucio is when they do something wrong. Like or maybe if they hit like a big ult or whatever. But like if a Lucio is doing well, you don't even notice they're there. They're just doing their thing, and I mean, Mercy can get the reses obviously, but like is there anything you can think of, like, whether it's go ahead.
I don't know. Well, specifically for the point you made for Lucios, it's hard to say because I feel like to notice a good Lucio, it's like you have to watch them. Like for the most part, and you have to know the role. Like a lot of people don't know how to play Lucio. It's a very, in my opinion, hard role to play at the highest level. And there's a lot of nitty and gritty mechanics that come with Lucio, like knowing when to switch to heal and to speed, and having that become like muscle memory, and sort of not muscle memory, but I guess it's like knowing what to do in every instance and which one will help you more.
Like game sense.
Yeah, it's more of an outsider's thing that you can look at and say, oh, this Lucio is playing very good mechanically. For the most part, the majority of the audience won't understand that, though. It's like, for the majority, they're like, they don't know how good a Lucio is. It's like, oh, he's just switching from speed to heal. That's not really exciting. And it's like, for people that understand the role, that's like a super important, and it's just a support. It's a supportive role, but it's like, it's a very important thing to understand about the role. And if you don't, it's just too hard to watch Lucios. But I think Anna's and Zen's are a little bit more straightforward. But Lucio's entirely reliant on positioning, and nobody, no Reddit pleb is gonna understand that. I'll phrase it that way. It's a little bit harsh, but it's true. It's kind of true.
It's so true. Yeah. That is a really good point, and I guess it's just kind of sad. I guess there's just always going to be some thankless jobs in the world, right? And I guess playing a support is one of those.
Yeah, and it's on the manager's role to not really go off of public, knowledge. It's more of to get somebody that understands the Lucio role and understands that they're doing a good job in the role, like someone like Pooks or whatever. Like you understand that they're doing amazing on Lucio, unless you understand the role and you watch their POV, for the entire game. And obviously, you're not going to watch Lucio's POV for the entirety of a pro match in contenders or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's like Hex and ZP just talking about Lucio play the entire time.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen,
You know,
unfortunately.
well, you know what? Next time we've had Hex on the show a number of times. We might be able to convince him to do a Lucio match.
Maybe? No, no, no,
Probably
no.
not.
He'll,
Probably not.
he'll fall asleep halfway through probably.
True
But
story. True story.
that's, oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it was an interesting question. Maybe there's an answer, maybe there's not. Who knows? I think the answer is just watch a Lucio match. Though probably not a good idea. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've got, Mr. Dogman. Is there any shout outs or anything you want to give before we get going?
Not really. Just I guess shout outs to my team, pretty much Kungarna. That's about it. Team Kungarna Twitter. They're a great team and a great group of guys, and it's a pleasure playing with them right now. And that's about it. My streams Dogman OW. Everything's Dogman OW. I'll just shout out my stuff real quick.
There you go.
That's about it. I don't really have too many other shout outs besides yeah, it's good.
There you go. And shout outs to Immortals if they're ever looking for a support player.
I guess so.
But again, Dogman, really appreciate you coming on. I had a blast. You're a really
Thanks
cool
for having
guy.
me.
And again, for better or for worse, whether you like it or not, you're always going to be part of the High Noon Podcast family. So you can always count on us to probably say something stupid or whatever.
Am I contractually obliged to stick with the High Noon Podcast, or what's the issue there?
Let's just, like I mentioned before, we are two very big bearded guys, so take that for what it's worth. No,
You're gonna hug me to death, or you're gonna beat me up? Which one?
Whichever. One of us will do one, and the other will do the other. But
well, I'm glad.
Yeah. Again, man, really appreciate it. And everyone, definitely head on over to twitch.tv/DogmanOW. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on Twitch. All that good stuff. Dogman, again, thank you so much. And you got to remember one thing. It's high noon.
I'm a McCree main, so I understand that. Thanks, Sean.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. I had a ton of fun. All right, guys, we are back. Hope you enjoyed the interview. We're in even more so past podcast land, where I don't even know how the interview went because I'm going to be recording it in an hour, my real time right now. Too confusing. And
I'll tell you, it was phenomenal.
It was a great pod.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
You had a lot of fun, and Dogman hated it. Unfortunately, that's what can you do about that? But nonetheless, big thank you to Dogman for agreeing to talk to us and come on the show. And if you're ever interested in the future, definitely let us know, and we'll probably reach out to you anyways once you find a home in the Overwatch League.
Yes, for sure. And also huge thanks to newly signed official guest booker A. Smith for setting this up. Yeah, round of applause. We don't have an actual soundboard clip for it, but you get a real round of applause. But that's going to be it for the show, guys. Again, huge thanks to Dogman, huge thanks to A. Smith for setting this up. Huge thanks to all of you guys for listening every week. We're super humbled every time we get a new viewer or a new person tweeting at us that says, hey, I've been listening for such and such weeks, like, you guys are awesome, or you guys suck. Like, we're super humbled by both, honestly. Huge thanks to the patrons who support us and keep the show running. You can check us out over at patreon.com/High Noon Podcast. Huge thanks to Matcherino for sponsoring our SoundCloud, so all the SoundCloud people can go over to Matcherino and thank them for that. Guys, you can check out all the links and everything you could ever imagine for the show over at highnoonpodcast.com. Every link is there, including the iTunes, where you can leave us a review. Also extremely helpful to leave us an iTunes review. I think I covered everything, Death, but is there anything else yet that you want to throw in there?
Well, another reminder here, we're getting a slow trickle still of people joining into the Discord community that we've set up here. It used to be patrons only. Now it is wide open to the masses. There is a link on the website, as well as links to all of our social media outlets, both for us as individuals as well as for the show. We head on over to highnoonpodcast.com. All the links to all the show stuff is right on the main page. All the stuff to us individually is on the host page. So check it out. Again, that's highnoonpodcast.com.
Yeah, and pretty much everything we talked about is going to be just down below in the show notes. All the links and all that stuff is going to be there. But that's going to be it for this week, guys. I know it was a long episode, but we really appreciate you watching. For Death Blow, I am the Blevins, and remember, guys, it's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Soldier says if you're going to have an interview at the end of the show, tell Blevins not to go on 100 tangents. Woo! Okay. Yeah, that was